Hi class, welcome back. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about another tool that is another library very important in Python, and that is Pandas. And again, Pandas is built in on Numpy. So it gives us this efficiency on accessing information data and allows us to be able to sort different information or data in a much more efficient way. The reason is because we translate that structure of the integer, right? And instead of storing it as a structure, we store it as a more primitive way as an array. So today we're going to talk about pandas and the differences over NumPy. Pandas has two different ways of storing this information to data structures, right? So we talked about different data structures in the first week. We talked about lists, talked about sets, maps, dictionaries, and so those are all data structures. And then on NumPy we talked about arrays. That's a different data structure. And then today we're going to talk about two different data structures that is within Pandas. One of them is called a series and the other one is a data frame. So we'll jump into these different 7 sections of Pandas, and we'll talk about their how to create them, how to create a series data structure or a a data frame data structure, and then we're going to talk about different tools that we can use, different attributes and methods that apply to those data structures. Okay, so we're going to jump in with the first one. Remember, there's 7 videos here. You have to download every file on your computer and then upload it to your Colab so that you can follow along. So this lecture, all lectures are interactive, meaning that it's not enough that you just watch it. You also have to type on it, right? So it is better because then you can actually, when you type things on yourself, right? Yourself, then it's gonna allow you to remember things or try things and and more. Sometimes you make mistakes and then you learn from those mistakes, right? And then you're gonna try to fix those, right? But it's better if you follow along and you type it. That's why this is it's not only is enough to watch it, but you have to keep it along, and then that's once you're done, you're gonna submit that as your proof that you watched it, right? And so make sure that you click on it, download it, and then upload it into your Colab. I already did this, right? Remember, you can just download it, click download, and then you can just go upload notebook, choose the file that you want to upload, and then 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 you're gonna be able to see your work here. Okay, so we're gonna start with series first, and like I said, right, in the first main data type we learned about Pandas is a series data type. So this is the first one we're gonna talk about, series, and so we're gonna import Pandas first to be able to explore the series object. A series is very similar to a NumPy array. In fact, they're building on top of NumPy, like I mentioned before. What differentiates a NumPy array from a series is that the series can have access labels, and I'll talk about what that means, right? Meaning it can be an index by a label instead of just a number location. So instead of just an index location. So that is the difference, is that instead of just being an index number integer location, right? How we had 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? That's how we were referring to the location of an element in the array in NumPy. But now what we can do is we can actually change that to have a different label as an index. And it also doesn't need to hold numerical data. It can hold any arbitrary Python object. Okay, so let's start by importing the pandas in NumPy. So we're gonna start by import NumPy as MP. So again, you don't have to import it as an MP, right? You don't have to import NumPy as MP. It's just customary for most people to do that. Why? Because it's easier to write MP instead of NumPy when we want to refer to the library, right? Where NumPy is a library where all these tools about arrays are located. And so we want to be able to access them. So we need to tell the computer where it is. So we write NP, right? The same thing with Pandas. We want to refer to it as a PD, right? So it's kind of like a it's not a slang, but in Spanish we call them apodos, um, but or short names, right? Like for example, Eduardo, you can call him Eddie or Ed. Jonathan, you can call him John. Uh, Joseph, you can call him Joe, right? So they're like short, right? So instead of saying the whole word, you just call it, you make it in a small word, so it makes it easier instead of saying the whole name, right? So this is the same thing with what we're doing right now. We're just making a shorter name, right? Instead of saying Pandas, we're just saying PD to refer to Pandas library. All right. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna create a couple of series. So, but first, let's actually create some arrays. We're gonna create a label list. So this is just a normal list, A, B, and C. So I just created a list. This is a list, right? This is one data structure. I'm gonna make another list with numbers, 10, 20, 30. So this is a list with integers. And now I'm gonna make an array of it, right? So I'm gonna have an array. I'm gonna call it R, and I'm gonna set it equal to MP. So I'm gonna need to refer to the library MP dot, and I'm gonna turn it into an array. So I'm gonna use the array constructor or function, right? And then I'm gonna take this my list. I can just take my list. I can do my list here. Or I can also write the list as well. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to create a dictionary. So I'm going to create a dictionary here where A is the key and 10 is the value. B is the next key and 20 is the value. C is the key and 30 is the value. So now we have a couple of different data structures here. And so what we're going to do here is I'm going to turn the my list and I'm going to turn it into a series. So the way I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna use the PD Panda. So I'm accessing the Pandas library. I'm telling the computer, look at the Pandas library. So PD is Pandas, and look at the series. So this is practically the constructor, and I'm gonna use the data to say the data that I wanna convert into a series is going to be my list. So I'm gonna take a list and I'm going to turn it into a series. So I'm just gonna first print my list so that way you guys can see it. I'm gonna run this one first, right? Because I need to import it first, and then run this one, and then now you can see that my list is just contains 10, 20, and 30. But now what I did is I'm going to convert my list into a series. And now you can see that my series contains this label on the left. I didn't have it. They are there in a way, right? This is index 0, this is index 1, and this is index 2, but they're not displayed, right? In here, we are seeing it. We can visually see that my series, that my first element is located at index 0, and 20 is index 1, 30 is index 2. So and now it's mapped to these values, to this this is kind of like your domain, right? And this is kind of like your range. So you're gonna map 0 to 10, 1 to 20, 2 to 30. So it is kind of like structurally setting up your your array into a two-dimensional kind of two-dimensional array. So I can also take and I can specify what kind of labels do I want. So I can say PD series. Again, I need to tell the computer where I want to find this series constructor, which is located on the pandas with the PD. So I can say my data will be my list, and my index will be now my label, the labels from the top. So you can see here, this is the labels that I want my labels to be my index. Instead of being 0, 1, and 2, I want them to be my labels. So I can run this, and you can see now, instead of having an index value 0, 1, 2, now I have my index represented by my labels. So this is the power of the series versus an array. Before you were not given this label as integer. You did have them. You can access any item in your array by the location of your index, but we didn't have quite a label for them, right? But now with the series, you do assign a label. So you can either assign them as an integer or a string or other things. We can do other things if we want to. Now you can do it like this, or we can just don't specify that, which one's your data and which one's your in your index. If I don't put data, then my first entry will be my data. My second entry my second parameter or argument, sorry, my second argument would have to be the index. So if I'm not gonna put data nor index, then I have to put my data first and my index second. If I don't want to follow the order, I can actually use it. I can change this by having as long as I have my index saying this is my index value, so I can actually change the order if I want to. So I could put this one over here, and it still would work the same way. So because now I'm specifying, I'm labeling what each of my arguments represent. If I don't want to write them, then I have to first put the data and then the index. Okay, otherwise it would give you something different. It would switch them. All right. Now I can turn an array and turn it into a series. So again, this is very powerful. I can turn anything into a series practically, right? So my array was just 10, 20, and 30, right? That was my array. And now I can have my array represented as a series, so 0, 1, and 2. I can turn an array, I can combine an array and other labels, so I can do pd dot series dot r as my data and labels as my index. And now you can see I can combine the data structure. It doesn't really need to be the same type, right? This is an array and this is a list. They don't necessarily need to be the same data type to be able to combine them in a series. So I can actually plug in any data structure here and any data structure here, and then it would interpret that. It would accept it. So same thing with the dictionary. So I can turn a dictionary into a series by just passing in the dictionary. And you can see that this is my key and this is my value, my key, my value, my key, my value. And so that's how we convert any data type, the data structure, into a series. Here we can, I can, if I don't specify the index location, right, and I put for example here, series dot data equals labels, right? So I'm saying here that I want my labels to be my data. And so now you can see automatically it's going to fill in with integers as my location, my labels. I can actually be more than just data, I can actually use functions if I want to. So I could use sum, print, and len as my data that is going to be submitted into my series, right? I didn't specify what labels, so it's gonna be automatically 0, 1, and 2. Okay, and then let's we can use practically anything we want as a label index. So for example, let's say I create this series 1, again PD for pandas. I'm gonna use a series constructor, and I'm gonna take my 1, 2, 3, 4 as my data, and my index will be USA, Germany, USSR, and Japan. And so now, if you can see, if I display my series, you will see that my label, right? My labels will be USA, Germany, USSR, Japan, and my values will be 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we can specify what our labels would be by using the index, or just put it as the second one. I didn't have to put this second. It should just give me the same thing. So you don't have to specify it, but I'm doing it right now so that you guys can see that I'm talking about the index value. Okay. But eventually, I don't think I will continue doing that. If I want to do another series, I can actually change the values of the number. So I'm gonna do series number 2. I'm gonna copy it, paste, and I'm gonna change the values from the order 1, 2, 3, 5, 4, and then I'm gonna change this to Italy, and then run this, run that, and then run, oh, sorry, SR2. And you can see now I can change the values of my index and my data if I need to. If I want to access any value, like the value of my index USA, I'll do it the same way we've been doing it for list, sets, maps, dictionaries, not arrays. So the same way, right? We're gonna call the object is series 1, and I'm gonna use USA, right? So I'm gonna use the bracket to specify which index I'm talking about. This is my index, and I want to have the value 1, so this is gonna return value 1. And then I can actually add different series. So I can do series 1 plus series 2, and what is gonna happen is, since there is some overlap in the index, right? So we're gonna be able to add the ones that they have overlap, like USA and USA, Germany and Germany, but Italy and USSR are not in both series. So in those cases, we're gonna have a not applicable.